What's up, Gamecock fans? What's up, family? What's up, friends? How's everyone doing today? You know how Rooster's doing today? I'm not falling for it. I'm not going to do it. I'm not falling for the trick again. We did it. We did it with football, right? We fell for it. We jumped on the bandwagon. We hyped preseason. We talked about how great this team is and what it's going to be. I'm not falling for it again. I'm not doing it with men's basketball. I'm not going to do it till we start beating some teams that we're equivalent to that should be better than us. I'm not buying the hype. Everybody else, all I see all over social media, Minchie Johnson, great. He's done great. South Carolina's winning basketball games. You went to overtime with Southern Miss. You should beat North Carolina A&T. You should beat Presbyterian. Way smaller colleges than the University of South Carolina. You're not getting me again. I'm not buying the hype. I don't care. We're not talking Q-zips. We're not talking any of that stuff until we beat the teams we're supposed to beat, until we win an SEC basketball games, until we're in the tournament. I'm going to tell you just like I talk about football, we need to be in the playoffs. I'm going to tell you just like I'm going to tell you about baseball. South Carolina has a legacy of great baseball. Need to be in the playoffs. I'm not falling for any more hype around men's sports. I'm just not going to do it. You can, Rooster, you're a negative fan. No, I'm not. I'm just not a sucker either. I'm not going to hype myself up. I'm not going to get excited about a team that's just going to break my heart again, like the South Carolina football program has. Now, I get it. There's probably not the talent level on South Carolina's basketball team as we had on the football team. And we don't know what type talent we have on the baseball team yet because there's so many new guys. I haven't even dipped into baseball. I'm barely dipping into basketball. This might be my first men's basketball video on this channel. And it's been fun watch. I've watched it. Some scary. So there's been some times in some of these games. There's not. And South Carolina lives and dies by the three. Now we know physicality has left basketball. It has for a long time. It's the way they call it. You got all the flops now. South Carolina has to be physical inside. And everybody's going to say, Rooster, you're old and white. What the hell you know about basketball? Well, I played it for 4 years. In school, and I played it all my life growing up. It was my favorite sport to play. I loved basketball more than I loved football. And I was better at basketball. And people were like, what? Man, I could shoot. I I thought, everybody was Larry Bird fans. I was a Michael Jordan fan. I'm like, I'm not. Yeah, y'all, every white dude wanted to be Larry Bird. In case y'all don't know that. But it was a physical game back then. It was a fun watch. The Detroit Bad Boys with Bill Laimbeer and Dennis Rodman before he went to the Bulls. The Knicks with Charles Oakley. You had the 76ers with Charles Barkley. Karl Malone. You had a lot of big physical basketball players back in the day, and they banged heads, man. They banged heads back then. Now, you're not going to hear that. They just can't. Right? Safety's become a thing in all sports. You can't touch a quarterback anymore. You can't hit anybody in the head anymore. You can't, it's just life in general, honestly. As a construction guy, we have OSHA. And, back in the day, people did crazy shit. Climbing around on these steel beams way up high, wasn't tied off, didn't know what a harness was, climb on roof, just did crazy shit. Now, you can do it, but if OSHA catches you, it's a heavy fine, or you fall and you just die. And your wife collects on your insurance, or husband, or whoever you are. Maybe you're a woman that does construction work. People just collect insurance policy on you anyway. But physicality has to come back. And I'm not falling for this basketball team. The football team, with all the hype, the preseason hype, coming off a 9-3 season. And it's just been heartbreaking to watch. All the discussion about offensive coordinators. Shane Beamer. Is Shane Beamer's job secure? Is Lamont Paris's job secure? Is Paul Mainieri's job secure? I can't say that. You got here's your right now, the three opinions that's out on Shane Beamer, if you want to bring Shane Beamer into this conversation, is some people want him fired now. Some people say, no, you got to give him one more year. And then there's a smaller majority of fan out there that says, let's see what happens in these last 3 games before he's fired. If these last 3 games are disastrous, you go out, the worst case scenario is you lose all 3, but you lost to Coastal, a school you should beat. You're bigger than, you have more talent than. Sometimes teams just outplay you. That happens a lot in basketball. You will get beat by sometimes a not as good basketball team because maybe you're just off. But that's why you got to have more talent on your team and find the hot hand, the guy that's not off, or a couple guys that's not off, or willing to step up on defense. And, basketball, football relates. You play zone defense, you play man defense. Same thing with football, zone, man. Setup's a little different, of course. But that's what you got to do. And I'm not buying any more hype in the men's sports at South Carolina until I have a reason to, right? Is there anything that tells me about beating North Carolina A&T, going into overtime with Southern Miss to beat them, a Presbyterian, that tells me this basketball team's great? No, but you look all over social media and everyone's all excited and they're hype, and I get it, and you're a fan. Here's the thing. I'm not a fan of a person. I'm not a fan of a coach. I'm a fan of the University of South Carolina and the Gamecocks. I'm always going to be a fan of the Gamecocks, no matter who the coach is. Even if Don Staley wasn't the coach, and I know there's a lot of stuff going on now back and forth with her on social media about who invented blue jeans. Who the fuck cares? You're a coach. Coach. That's one thing in sports that's gotten out of hand, is this whole theory that just because you're successful as a coach or you're successful as an actor or actress, that people care about your politics. We don't care. You don't live in the same universe as us. The vast majority of this world don't make $3 million a year. They don't. So we're not relatable on your politics, because you're not living the struggle. It's like I had a conversation about Shane Beamer with in my comment section. I forgot who I was talking to. I think it's Troy, maybe it was Troy. Troy, if it was you, I think it might have been. Maybe it wasn't. You guys let me know in the comment section. But I was talking about the one thing Beamer's never had to do is learn to crawl. The struggle that a lot of coaches have had to do, starting with coaching at a JV or high school level, moving into a smaller college position, getting onto a bigger program, maybe a G5, and then getting into power conferences. If you look at Shane Beamer's career, he never did that, right? He was a GA at Mississippi State with Sylvester Croom, and then he was a GA somewhere else. I just look at his career. He's never really been outside of a Power 4 program. When he worked at South Carolina as a recruiting coordinator, helped with special teams, when he worked at Virginia Tech under his father, when he worked at Georgia, when he worked at Oklahoma, he never had to crawl. His dad was a successful coach. His dad crawled. And I compared it to, in my conversation, it's being around Dale Earnhardt. Let's compare Dale Earnhardt to Dale Jr. I grew up around that. And a lot of you people, especially around Orangeburg County, y'all might remember when there was always discussions that Dale Earnhardt was around Orangeburg County, South Carolina, deer hunting and stuff. It is true, because it was my uncle that he would come down and go deer hunting with for whole swamp. But anyway, on to another story. That was a lifetime ago. But comparing the two, everyone always knew, especially if you knew Dale Jr. growing up like I did, he was never going to be his father. Shane Beamer's never going to be his father. It's a different time. It's a different world. Money came into NASCAR. It ruined it. College football is on the same path as NASCAR was. I was in NASCAR in the early 90s, all the way through the later 2000s. I watched the sport go from where not everybody was watching it to everybody was watching it. It would hit its popularity peak And then money came in. The big money, the corporate money started coming in. The quality of the product went down because of the money that came in. Now you look for a NASCAR race, you got to go to some off-the-wall Fox Sports 1 or something like that, where NASCAR races was on big, mainstream channels weekly. There was 100+ souvenir trailers for drivers at the racetracks every weekend. Now there's maybe 5 or 6. It just shows you how money can ruin things. And that's what I tell people now. Everybody's like, you still have your fanhood and people want to be fans. But you had to, well, it's about the money. It is about the money. Because I've seen this rodeo before. I saw it with NASCAR. I grew up through it. When the big money corporate sponsors started coming in, they killed what was once a family sport, where people would take their kids and go watch races, and drivers were out signing autographs for hours after the race and stuff like that. There's no interaction hardly with football players. There's not. And I get it. They're college kids or something. They set up these little autograph sessions. People will go meet them there or whatever. But when you lose that, like, I don't know the kids. I can't be a fan of somebody I don't know. That's what I'm trying to say. I knew Dale Earnhardt. I was a fan of Dale Earnhardt because I knew him as a person. Now, a lot of people hated him, thought he was an asshole. But the man was good at what he did, and he wasn't an asshole to everyone. He was just an asshole to whoever your favorite driver was. But that's kind of the thing I'm talking about. And it's the same thing with Shane Beamer. And I'm sorry I went off on that little tangent there for a minute. But, you know, I try to tell people how I relate to why my opinions are the way they are. And a lot of it, like, you get on Twitter and somebody will make a comment and you ask a question, they get offended by it. Why are you asking me a question? People don't like to be questioned. But I'm not doing it to be an asshole. I'm doing it to try to figure out why. And a lot of you guys that are subscribed know this in the comment section. Even if we have a differing opinion, I try to find out or ask why you have that opinion. What has, if you say Shane Beamer should stay, then why? Why should Shane Beamer get another year? You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to get what you see that says Shane Beamer should have an opportunity for another year, why he should get the last 3 games, why he shouldn't have been fired already, why will he get fired, when will he get fired. It's just all questions and curiosity because I like to keep my finger in the fan base, on the pulse of the fan base, and understand what they're thinking. And I get it. Some people are just straight ass delusional about it. Well, he got us to 9 wins. That doesn't explain anything. People are mad because people had an opinion about what he said about the OC hires, and one kid wanted to argue, called me old and decrepit. Then when he lost the argument, he went to the insults. You ever notice that when somebody's losing an argument, they'll just start insulting you because they know their argument is just shit by then? Then the insults come. Oh, you're old, white, and decrepit. Yes, young man, I am. If that's what you think. It's just like, but you know what I told him in the comment? Maybe you need to start listening to some older folks that have experienced life, that have seen these rodeos before. I made the mistake when I was young. I didn't want to listen. I knew everything. I'm young. I know everything. Now it's even worse because they have Google and they have AI and they have all these other programs that they think, well, it's telling me the truth. And none of that shit's ever lived life, brother. Life comes with blood. It comes with sweat. It comes with tears. It comes about what I just talked about crawling, where a lot of coaches have crawled to get to where they are, where some didn't. And when you crawl to get there, you know how to overcome when bad shit happens, when controversies happen. You know how to get there. Shane Beamer doesn't know how to get there because he's never had to do it, is what I'm trying to tell you. And I'm not, like I said, I'm not buying into the basketball program with 3-0. I don't care. You beat North Carolina A&T, Southern Miss, and Presbyterian. I'm not buying into the baseball program till you're competing with the LSUs and the Arkansas and the Mississippi States and the rest of the SEC in these baseball games. I just show me on the field. Because I'm not going to drive your hype train for you on this channel. Y'all make me look like a fool like Shane Beamer did this year. I look like a damn fool. If I go back and watch my videos at the beginning of the year and how I was arguing with people that know South Carolina's going to be great when people were trying to tell me they weren't, I went out there and wanted to try to defend my Gamecocks. And then they made me look like an idiot. They did. Yep. Just like my old coon dog. When he tree, I tell everybody, I guarantee it's a coon. I get there and there's an old possum up in the tree. And that Shane Beamer was my old possum with the football team this year. The old possum. Anyway, I got to get out of here. Please like, subscribe. Don't forget to hit the notification bell so you know every time I put a video up. And you can hit that little join button. Cocky 1, Cocky 100. Not that expensive if you want to support the channel. Appreciate you all. Peace. Have a wonderful rest of your Friday.